And welcome back to the Breakaway USA show. I'm your host, David, and tonight we have such an eventful night.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Oh, my God. The topics are going to be great, right, fellas? We have an exclusive interview with Lindsey Graham and Kendall Bailey, who are both just on the Whatever podcast. So we're going to hear about their experience on the Whatever podcast. We also have James O'Keefe releasing some interesting footage regarding the whole how the CIA went after Trump. So you don't want to go anywhere because we're going to be talking about that and showing the entire video here. Maybe not the entire video. We also have our meme reaction, of course. Meme reaction of the week, the best meme of the week. And Breakaway USA crew, well, actually, Fabian attended the UCLA encampment. So we're going to hear about how that went with him. And of course, we can't end the weekend or the week, excuse me, and start the weekend without Kev's quick hits. And as always, we got that at the very end. And of course, as always, I got Fabian and Kev joining me tonight.
So excited.
Welcome, everyone. Yeah, it's going to be a great show because we are your pivotal source for the most compelling and urgent news stories of the week. And of course, like David said, my name is Fabian Garcia. And alongside me, as always, we have Mr. Kevin Fairs and Mr. David Kate. And we are going to bring you some critical analysis and unique perspective on what is shaping our world. And David is going to take it away.
Of course. So let's get into our first topic right away. Tonight is actually really awesome because we have two special guests joining us to talk about their experience on a really popular podcast called Whatever. You may have not heard of it, but you've probably definitely seen clips of it, videos of it,
you've
different stuff like that. Oh, yeah, you definitely
fascinating dating podcast that everybody in my generation loves. So, and there's been so many fun people on it. Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro. I think he's been on it. Candace Owens, I think Charlie Kirk's been on it. But we have two of some of the most entertaining guests from one of the recent episodes.
Exactly. And
Thanks,
here
Kevin.
They are.
Of course.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. The most entertaining. Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It was definitely an entertaining 6 hours. I didn't watch the entire 6 hours, but Kev watched all 6 hours.
I did.
Normal speed, not twice fast, 3 times fast, normal speed. So
poor guy. Kevin, I'm so sorry.
You're not dumber
for it, my friend. You're dumber for it.
Lindsey, can you give the people who haven't heard of Whatever podcast kind of an insight as to what kind of a podcast it is or interview it is? And because it's not a regular one.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and say that it's not what people think it is. So it's supposedly a dating podcast, and they've got 8 women or girls crammed around this teeny tiny table, and a male host, Brian Atlas, and whoever his comrades are for the night. Usually it's another few males. And typically they talk about dating, but not just any dating, like raunchy dating. Like he talks about body count and weird sex positions and things like that. It's really inappropriate. But a lot of the guests he have on are decently inappropriate women. They have OnlyFans and things like that. So, but I will say it has weirdly converted into a debate podcast, which it totally is not. And he keeps bringing this weird guy, Andrew Wilson, on. I swear to you, if I didn't know any better, Andrew is paying to be on this podcast.
Really?
Because he's on it all the time, and he's literally knows nothing about dating. He's unhappily married. It's the weirdest thing. So he's turned it into a debate podcast. So now I don't know what it is.
He probably owes some money or something, and this is how he's getting his payback.
I guess so. I mean, I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories out there now. So I'm I don't put anything past him. There's no reason that Brian Atlas, who is doing just fine on his own, bringing on OnlyFans girls and exploiting them, and he got 4.3 million subscribers doing it. Why all of a sudden did he bring in this random player, this 50-something-year-old guy with a beer belly who wants to debate these feminists?
He's radically unattractive as an individual, which doesn't necessarily play into it as much.
It
but
totally plays into it.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. Exactly. But then when you're in here trying to tell people, young attractive women, all of you guys, young attractive women, about how they're supposed to be and everything, it makes you just while you're sitting there on some high horse, you're not fit yourself, you're not taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally by any means, and trying to tell all these people. And yes, some of them that were there, the young person in love with the tree, named
Yeah.
Alien. Like,
Whoa,
no,
whoa,
like
whoa.
that person by no means is well adjusted as much as Andrew
No.
is, but
No.
it's disgusting. But I'm curious, how does one actually go about getting on? Because you said you think that there's a possibility maybe Andrew's paying or something. I know that's all unconfirmed, but how did you go about getting onto this podcast?
Well, I had reached out to them years ago about being on it, especially seeing like other conservative, media personalities being on it. It seemed like, oh, well, I'd love to sit on the table and speak truth to these radical feminists who don't know what they're talking about, right? And so it seemed like the desirable thing to do, be on the whatever podcast. Like it has so much clout, like unnecessarily, by the way. And I'm a conservative media personality. So my thought was I would be the Candace Owens. I'd be the Michael Knowles, the Charlie Kirk. But like, he didn't do his research. I don't know who recruited us. I don't know who said, come on. Like they were messaging us on Instagram. Like, can you come this date? And I was like, no, this date, no, this date, no. Finally, we found a date. And I think that they just had no idea who Kendall and I were because they just threw us at the table like any other chick. And then, of course, as you saw, poor Kevin, we never really had a chance to talk about like, hey, by the way, we're like raging conservatives over here. But even if we would have gotten a word in edgewise, Andrew is so set in his like pedestal of patriarchy.
This is like the old fat guy.
Yes, old fat guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And up close, he has like gray, black outlined teeth too, which like just adds to it.
Of course he does.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
From smoking like 3 cigarettes.
Well, Howard Stern had the little black midget Beetlejuice who had those same kind of teeth. So maybe it's like a thing.
The thing. If I want to grow my podcast, I need a nasty tooth dude to my left.
Lindsay, and from like the recent whatever podcast that I've seen, he has like 2 people behind him, like a girl and a guy, and they're dressed in a what's
that's
up with
been
all
a
of
thing.
that?
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So they're like random players in the game. Like that guy in his soldier costume, he acted like security earlier in the night. He like wanded us down and like took our shoes and all this stuff, and then put on this really weird costume and then just sits in the background and make faces. Can you imagine like what kind of job do you have where you just sit there for 6 hours? And if somebody were to get up and go to the restroom, Brian would yell at him to go take their spot so it would look like no one was missing from the table. So it must be like, for Brian, it must be like a weird like visionary kind of thing where he has to have someone at the table. He has some really, really strange personality characteristics, like autistic, like I don't know, really weird. So,
oh my god!
Well, no eye contact with people, and like loses his mind, really sweating profusely the entire podcast. There's some weird stuff going on, man.
So tell us a little bit more about what happens behind the scenes of the Whatever podcast. Because like this is like it is a cultural phenomenon, especially amongst people in like their early 20s around my age. Like everybody watched it. There's all these TikToks and everything of like Gorlock the Destroyer and everything went viral from it. Like what happens behind the scenes? Like so you said that you kind of got a little bit more into insight as to who Brian is. Among other things. What did you see?
Okay, so we were told via Instagram. That's their only communication. It's not professional like you guys where you're texting and emailing and here's a link. Like it's like be at this door, which is super secret and private, at 4 p.m. sharp and don't be late. Well, we were there. They wouldn't let us in. They're like, we'll be down a little bit. They were down to let us in at 4:20, which is really weird. Like we're just standing on the street in a street town. Women, by the way, leaving a group of women like on the sidewalk alone. We get let in. They wand us down. They check our purses. Very strange. This is a podcast. We go up a bunch of flights of stairs, go in the room. They tell us we have to take our shoes off because the neighbor below is weird about noise. But Brian and Andrew are wearing shoes, by the way. There is a bowl of stale chips on the counter. It's almost like an apartment. And what you see is what you get, like one square white table and 10 people shoved around it. Just as perfectly as Brian wants. He doesn't make eye contact with anyone. He only came in the room to bark at us where to sit and then to yell, shut the F up, because 2 of the girls were like chit-chatting during the rules. He had the rules dictated to us, told us to shut up if people weren't listening. And then he would just show up throughout the podcast whenever he felt like it and read the computer screen and start conversations. And like, Kevin, you saw one time he likes to control everything. He yelled at me because I asked her something about the tree. I asked her about her relationship with the tree. And he goes,
I saw that. Yeah.
can we just shut up about the stupid tree? Like, why are you guys feeding into this? This is BS. This is so dumb. And he's like, stop with the comments. And then he asked her a tree question. I was like,
that's what I was gonna say. Is I noticed that there was one time where like you guys were trying to like go into it a little bit more, and then he was just like like you said, he shut everybody else up. This tree doesn't matter. The tree doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden it mattered again to him.
Yeah. Yes. So he wants to be the one dictating the conversation. And if what you're saying is too boring, he shuts you up. If what you're saying is offensive, he yells at you and demeans you and undermines you. It's like such verbal abuse. I have no hesitation saying that. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I was in an abusive relationship for 3 years, 20 years ago. I know what verbal abuse looks like, and this is it. So
I mean, look, I've been around these kind of people all my life in Hollywood. What they do is they're extremely rude to people so that people give them respect. They're like usually like the uglier guys that can never get girls, and this is why they act like that. I mean, it's not like I haven't seen a million of these guys ever. And I guess, and that entire, it sounds like leaving you outside, having a stale bowl of chips, having a really crappy room. It's all to, to get you in that mindset of, oh, okay, this is like some apartment and some college frat boys controlling the, everything.
Exactly.
It just sounds really lame, but I guess because it's all gimmick with the idiot dressed like a soldier or something like that, and then the girls dressed like ridiculous like elves or something like that, and then it's just like
that's Alien, man. That's Alien right there.
Yeah, that is Alien.
That's Alien is in love with a tree. It was like
we got a clip. Let's play this clip to check it out and see how it was.
I started going to a new church and really found Jesus in authenticity. And I started going to a new church and really found Jesus in authenticity. And I got down on my knees and gave my baby to God. And that was kind of the closure of, my abortion.
So church never found out about it?
No.
Wait, which one's the fat old one?
Know.
On the right or left?
Who did I kick off first? Because we did a prediction
they look
on
like twins, to be honest.
Who was going to get kicked tonight?
Basically, she was already in the back eating chips.
And she was checked. Well,
she just got up and left. And then
she
girl
got
stood up.
Here's just a tiny example. And you guys, this is one of the tamest examples of what happened on the Whatever podcast with Kendall and I. When we tried at any point to get real or authentic or share stories that had a real impact on the world or the message that we convey on a daily basis, like me sharing my abortion story and how I use it to empower the women not to get abortions, everyone at the table is fine with being real. And Brian goes straight to like, who did I kick off the show? Like, oh, I'm such a man. Look at the size of my wiener. Who did I kick off first? I just got extremely vulnerable and shared something that was very intimate, powerful, and his only response is, what slut did I kick off the show first? This guy, wait till you guys see all of the stuff that we're going to clip and put together.
And we've seen some great stuff, honestly, from that. Look, the one thing I kind of want to ask is, how did you feel in that moment? Like when he literally, like you were telling this vulnerable story and all of a sudden he just says, then I just kicked that one girl out. I mean, what's up with that?
I actually it's probably a lot deeper than you want to go, but because I was abused 20 years ago, I kind of am really ashamed to say that I kind of turned back into like a victim. I didn't know what to do at that time because that was hour 7 or like was six hours of like
6 hours.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
No food. I had 3 stale chips. Being ridiculed, talked down to, cussed at, yelled at, demeaned, degraded by
I hope
man.
they bring me on the show one day. I hope to baby Jesus that they bring me on that show one day.
Oh, I hope so too. Those guys need to get annihilated.
The guy's a bunch of
But
bozos.
I just was like, I wasn't myself. I was weak. I was tired. I was hungry. And I was like, I guess the best I can do is try to share some of my story and hope that it impacts some women. And he just like literally turned me into the bad guy, the villain of my own like testimony. And I was like, I kind of was done fighting. Like if Kevin watched the whole podcast, I got up and left for a while and I was just in the back, like, let me know when we can leave. And then I sat back in my chair and I literally laid down and fell asleep on one of the girls. Like I was just done. I was done fighting with that dude.
Well, I think the thing that was difficult for me to watch with it is because like I didn't disagree with everything Andrew had to say in
Right.
terms of like the purely of what there was multiple times where I saw you and Kendall even like trying to say like, hey, we agree with you, but the way you're framing it or the way you're saying it is disrespectful. And then you guys got into they kept talking about meta conversation and all that crap. And I mean, to an extent, some of it was, but it ended up being all about tone instead of like, let's actually get to the heart of what is being said here. Cause then you have this, the two like lesbians that aren't lesbian at the table. And there could have been so many opportunities for such great conversation, but because it ended up all devolving into a power grab from a lot of people at the table, not everybody, but a lot of people at the table were trying to control it all. And whenever Brian would lose control, it seemed like then everything just kept going to absolute shit.
Wait, sorry.
Right.
So just again, who's the old fat guy? Is it Brian or what's
That's
the other guy?
Andrew.
That's Andrew.
Okay,
And it's Brian's show. It's allegedly Brian's show, but he brings Andrew on, old fat guy, almost every
and the
show.
other guy is
a
younger chubby guy. One's old and fat, one's younger and chubby.
The younger chubby is Andrew.
Younger chubby sweaty. Younger chubby sweaty.
Or younger is Brian. Brian, and then Andrew's the old guy. But it was a fascinating show because there were so many opportunities for good conversation. I mean, you and Kendall were generally normal, and then you had some just wild experiences that I was really excited to hear about. But it all just devolved so quickly.
It was it's so sad. But if it's any consolation, we are actually in contact with 3 of those girls from that show. And we're actually able to like have conversations with them and minister to them outside of it. So I really feel like it really sucked for us. It really sucked. Yeah. I'm fine talking about it now, but it really put me in like kind of a weird emotional place for like 4 or 5 days because of my abuse history. And now I'm like, dude, God totally had a reason for us to be there. It was to minister to these women, and we're making real change outside of the Whatever podcast.
Do you think with all that, because that sounds amazing, but do you think there would be any chance that if we were to do some kind of a live stream where we could get everybody or as many people that you're still in contact with and have like a real conversation, I think that'd be epic. If you could get them all, like everyone keeps saying someone needs to start a Whatever podcast, but like it actually treats people, like bring these women on and minister to them. Instead of humiliate and degrade them for clicks and money.
Wait,
but
so what do they talk about? I'm sorry, I've never seen it, but for 6 hours, is it just like nonsense? Just this.
He asks everyone that comes on beforehand, and mind you, Kendall and I didn't fill out the information. We're public figures. We don't have to answer your stupid questions. He wants to know like, what's your craziest dating story? Are you in a relationship? What's your status? Have you ever, like just weird dating, what's your job? Where do you live? What's the longest relationship you've been in? So he makes it out like it's dating questions, but then when he gets these girls on, he's really looking to like exploit them as whores, essentially. Like,
and just make fun of them.
I mean, I'll be honest, no matter who you are, Andrew and Brian will literally find a way to turn it into like, you're a whore, you're below us, you're not even worthy to be here, but great story. Like that is the goal.
Those are the typical guys that didn't get into the clubs in Hollywood and they're just mad and they're outside and they're like, I'm going to start a podcast and get all these girls and I'm going to be the man because it's my kingdom. I've seen it a million times. I mean,
and that's who the subscribers are.
Those guys are both hurt. Yeah, those guys are both insecure.
Subscribers are. It's not good men like you. It's a bunch of beta males that have been hurt by a woman or 2 women or 3 women, and now they hate women. And so they're paying $200 to make a comment that's read out loud that degrades one of the girls. So when I say it's like people are paying to humiliate these women, that's literally what's happening. And Brian's taking all the money.
Yeah.
The feeling I like the first time I saw the Whatever podcast, I felt like that they were trying to portray it as if you've ever seen Fresh and Fit's podcast, where but a conservative angle to it. And the more I would see it, I'm like, this seems like a OnlyFans agency. But the one thing that just doesn't click to me is why conservative figures like Charlie Kirk, I saw Isabel Brown, Candace Owens, they go on this show and they never really spoke out against it or anything like that. What do you think happened there? Or
this is what I think, and I don't know this, but I think that you and me and and is Fabian, right?
Fabian.
I know, I know I'm gonna pronounce it wrong.
Yeah, it was the same.
We've all seen the viral clips, but nobody subjects themselves to watching the 6 hours. So the only thing you know about it is the viral clips, right? I would be surprised if Charlie's team, Michael Knowles' team, Isabel Brown's team, they all were like, hey, this thing looks popular, let's get you on it. None of them knew what they were in for. But one thing that happened is Brian knew who they were. So he was like, I'm going to set you next to me and I'm going to be on my best behavior. And everybody has been saying he is not even remotely the same person when he had Charlie Kirk next to him or Candace Owens. He was like so polite and put together, like he was keeping himself put together to show off for them so that he wouldn't ruin his reputation. And he did not know who Kendall and I were. So he didn't like, even my friend Kristen is very, very smart. And she was watching and she's like, why is Lindsay sitting in the middle of the table like an OnlyFans girl? Like, why?
That's the question I actually had.
Yeah.
It's like you and Kendall are, like you said, you guys are public figures. You speak at events. Trump was weeks ago, which is insane on its own.
Oh,
but he set you around the table with these OnlyFans chicks and everything, rather than being the conservative guest or whatever guest, right? Majority of the guests I see coming on there are conservative. That's why I say that. But I was so confused about that.
It is weird. But I will say I'm glad. Like, I would not, if I could go back, I wouldn't want to have been sat next to him to, you know, drop bombs on these feminists or whatever. Even in love, you could still drop truth bombs that could go viral. But I would not want to sit on that side of the table and be associated with him, knowing now who he is. I wouldn't want to be on his side. And so I am so glad that it happened the way it happened, that they didn't know who we were and that they treated us like the garbage that they treat these other women, because I may not have an OnlyFans. And when you have an OnlyFans, you're disrespecting yourself, but no one deserves to be talked to the way Andrew talks to people. And he talks to every woman like that, not just hookers or prostitutes or sluts. Like, every woman is below him. And so knowing that, I'm like, dude, I'm sticking up for these women. This is radically abusive.
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm sorry, I don't know the names, but old fat guy or younger chubby guy. You guys want me on? Hit me up, baby. Fabian likes on Instagram.
Brian
in the LA
Brian
area, so perfect.
They wouldn't know what to do with a real man on that show.
No, that's the thing, is they would never invite me on because they're beta males.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That is that's a little bit of like kind of what happened too. Is, you know, Candace Owens obviously is a strong woman. All these conservative women that have gone on are strong women, but they didn't know what to do with Kendall and I when they sat us at the table without knowing who we were, and we were strong women. It was like they were so caught off guard, they just had to like shrink into their normal behavior, which is let's just yell at them until they shut up.
Yep.
The worst mistake that could have happened for them, but I think that's the best thing that could have happened to y'all, because now we see whatever is all about, what Brian is all about, because they have a big network. And like you're saying, I mean, yeah, these women may be doing OnlyFans and whatnot, but you shouldn't put them down, because if you're trying to get them out of there, like that Nala Fitness girl who just came out, you know, as a Christian now and everything, right? I mean, that's the stories you want to see. And by putting these girls down, I don't think you're going to ever achieve that.
No. And, you know, the call to action is not like boycott, whatever, cancel, whatever. Like, if they get shut down, that is a huge blessing to society. Honestly, if Brian Ellis goes bankrupt and can't do this. But my big thing is exactly what you've said, David, which is all these conservative icons have gone on. And then guess what? Whatever isn't making themselves viral, we are literally making them viral for him. But by using conservative icons going on. So my call to action is that every single conservative icon that gets invited onto that show stops going on and using your own platform to rise up this like demonic, abusive dude.
Yeah.
So that's what needs to happen is the people in our movement need to be like, we officially denounce this. We did not realize what it was about. I will never go on it again.
No,
I completely agree there.
100%. And I definitely think that Lindsay, there's a potential where if you would like to collaborate on something, even every once in a while, where we find a way to create the conservative and good Jesus-based, Christ-based version of the Whatever podcast. I think that'd be a fascinating venture.
I think that'd be amazing.
Lindsay, we had such a great time with you. Honestly, you're always such an awesome guest.
What
to
happened
have
to my
on.
boo? What happened to my boo, Kendall? She,
I don't
popped
know.
on.
She
know.
popped on, popped off.
Something must be going on with their internet.
Yeah.
It's all good. We will no doubt have you guys back. And like I said, we'll get something going. We'll find a way to collaborate and bring you guys in more with the Breakaway USA.
So cool. We'd love it. We could be your female contributors.
There you go. That's what we need.
Yeah.
And you
Awesome.
For all of our audience, where can they find you, Lindsay?
I'm on Instagram at the.patriot.barbie. And Kendall is, even though you didn't see her, Kendall _in_ Kentucky.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on.
God bless you. God bless you. Thank you.
Hey, and thanks for your work at UCLA, Fabian.
Oh,
stay tuned
for that.
We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about it later on.
Bye,
all right,
guys.
everyone. We will be here. We'll be right back after the short commercial break.
No.
All right, everyone. Let me take a quick second and thank our sponsor of the day, Freedom 2.0, an incredible company that we work very closely with. If you haven't heard about them, they're a unique company that is fighting unapologetically to preserve the freedom of speech while ensuring that you stay hydrated. They have some of the purest water out there, and I really do mean that. They have this really cool, unique filtration process that includes reverse osmosis, O3 ozonated water, which helps you hydrate and helps cell regeneration. And they also treat it with UV lights to kill anything that's left over. So they really do help us. Supporting them supports us. So make sure you go to freedom20.com/USA and you'll get 15% off your order. And you'll see some pretty pictures of all of us up there as well.
Oh, yeah. The prettiest.
Exactly. And you'll see all of our favorite stuff on there as well. Fellas, what about that segment right there? That was crazy, huh? It's nice to have a perspective about what's happening on these popular podcasts that we're finally.
I know. You never know. That's why I always ask, like, what goes on behind the scenes is because you never really know. Like with us, if anybody was ever curious, we literally just log on to our streaming stuff and we're here talking to you. Like there's not like this massive vetting process or anything like that. Like we're professional with our guests and everything. Man, it's crazy to me that people get on such a power trip.
Yeah, and I'm glad that she explained how they leave them downstairs because that's the beginning of this mental gymnastics that they play on you.
Mm-hmm.
You're a girl. You're out there, like she said, alone. They leave you down there. There's nothing in there. There's no food. There's just stale chips. It's all meant to prepare your mind for the abuse. That's a preparatory abusive kind of relationship that they're doing. And I get it. I mean, obviously they're not dating coaches because they're not coaching anybody. They're just apparently talking crap to people.
Mm-hmm.
But I get the gimmick. I get the shtick. I've seen it so many times. You have these guys, like I was saying, who they never got laid. They can never get into the clubs. They're just like, rejected. And then they get really mad, start a podcast. And because it's so gimmicky and so weird, and you have like people dressed up in like uniforms or something, and you have people dressed up like it's a freak show.
Dumb.
It's a freak show ran by Barnum and Bailey. I'm gonna call those two guys Barnum and Bailey, the bozos.
No, absolutely. And like if you guys watch it, like there are some times where there's some really funny clips that come out of it, but it's out of a 6-hour podcast. And the thing is, I have no problem with the podcast being super long. I've seen a lot of people do panels that go on for a very long time, and that's not an issue in and of itself. But when it's all in a central location and you have rules as to what you can do when you're on camera, what you can't, like, and it's like super, super strict, man, it's just, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's as wild as the story that you're about to break right here for us, right, Kev?
Oh, absolutely. Let's pull up a little bit of this clip. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is up there with Woodward and Bernstein's Watergate, Edward Snowden through WikiLeaks releasing everything about the NSA. No, now we have a new 3-letter agency, which we know has been radically spying on Americans, but not just Americans, on the former president of the United States while he was president, even coming out further. James O'Keefe, actually, I consider him kind of a friend, met him a few times, who has exposed CNN, has exposed the Washington Post, has exposed so many. I mean, what's one of the most recent ones that he had? He just had Pfizer as well that he exposed.
Yep.
Built up Project Veritas, all to just be ousted because he flew too close to the sun by exposing powerful people, has now exposed the CIA.
Ooh.
And it's radical the amount that they are doing. So take a look at, we're going to watch like the first 2 minutes ish of this video. This is a 30-minute video that you guys can watch. There's more and more coming out. We're going to start with just the 2 minutes of this one.
Wow.
There's no audio. You have to, it says it's muted, Fabian. The audio is muted on our end.
That's what happens when we don't have production, Cody.
Amjad Fasisi shows her his CIA identification badge.
No, where does it say?
Doesn't.
Hey, that's the point.
That's the point.
What's CMC?
China Mission Center, darling. That's my mission center.
Gotcha.
Amjad talks about how the CIA kept information from Trump.
Like working.
We kept information from him.
Say one more time.
We kept information from him.
From Trump?
Yes. He's an idiot. And there are certain people that would give him a high-level overview, but never give it to you. You know, you know why? It's called leak those details.
Amjad Fasisi states that higher-ups within the intel community, including CIA directors Mike Pompeo and Gina Haspel, and the upper levels of their staffs colluded to withhold information from sitting President Trump.
So the agencies kind of like all got together and said, we're not going to tell Trump.
The higher-ups.
The higher-ups.
We put it this way, the executive staff. We're talking about the director and his subordinates.
Like, what titles are they? They're
Director of the CIA.
director of the CIA would keep.
Yes.
Are you guys still watching him?
I would say yes.
It sounds like you guys are still watching him and his team.
Of course we are. Nothing goes by without somebody watching.
Amjad Fasisi also states as fact that Trump is under constant surveillance and even claims they are spying on his ex-wife.
And we also have people that monitor his ex-wife.
So you guys
All
have
right, we can take a pause there. So here's the thing with this story that we're learning, and there's it goes more into the full half hour, but the biggest parts of it are to know that our CIA, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, that is supposed to be the hub for the president to be able to understand pretty much everything that's going on in and outside the country as is necessary for him to be able to do his job, withheld information from the president, who is supposed to be the commander-in-chief, withheld information from him while he was president because they, the bureaucracies, decided that he couldn't be trusted. Along with that, they surveil him when he's acting as a private citizen and throughout his campaign while under direction of a new president. And yet you'll still have people, so much so that they're even still spying on his ex-wife. And they will claim that they're nonpartisan, or that Joe Biden has nothing to do with these indictments, or that there is no such thing as election interference, when in reality, our own bureaucracies are clarified to be doing this. Baby, what are your thoughts?
You know, this is something that we kind of all knew, but it's incredible to see how easy information is given to people just so that they can get laid, because all these guys, including the gay ones that are giving all this information out, they're doing it over dinner with females or males just to try to impress them to get laid. This makes me think we have this massive high standard of CIA agents. Oh my gosh, because of all the books we've read and the movies we've seen, there's some secret undercover ninjas. This shatters all of that. Everything you've learned about the intelligence agency can be gotten so easy. Imagine what China has. Imagine what every other intelligence agency around the world has. If James O'Keefe can get this so easily, how secure are we really?
No, exactly, Fabian. And you make a lot of good points. First of all, I don't know if anybody's actually truly shocked. We've known this for a while, that essentially the administrative state is persecuting its opposition. And who's its current opposition? It's actually Donald Trump. And the thing that we saw in the clip there is that wasn't just happening during his administration, but it's currently happening right now. That means that you have actively an opposing party that's in power right now, using the leverage of the government to go after its political opposition. And we always talk about this, that Trump is being persecuted, conservatives are being persecuted, but it always sounds like buzzwords, right? And finally, here's some evidence about what we're talking about. Yeah, it's a conspiracy. I put my tinfoil hat on TV and everything like that. But what is this? Is this a conspiracy? It's a conspiracy against a political opponent. That's what it is.
Absolutely. And in fact, everybody wanted to know, since this is all about Trump, it really is, everybody wanted to know what Trump had to say about it. And I believe I have a video to be pulled up actually of Trump responding to this bombshell report. Do we have that clip?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible that James O'Keefe, he was in Trump Tower with Trump, and Trump gave his opinion on this.
Oh,
and
wow.
We're going to watch it. Yeah, it's pretty. This just happened today, I think, actually.
That's badass.
About how the CIA directors withheld information from you.
What's shocking to see how stupid somebody can be. If this guy's for real, you're going to get rid of him. CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. This is not an intelligent guy to be openly talking. Walk up and starts asking questions and talking that way. So he may be bragging or showing off to some young lady. I have no idea the conditions under which he spoke, but I'd get rid of him real fast. If he's for real, get rid of him.
My God. See, that's the craziest thing to me about this, is that he finds out that his entire life has been scrutinized by the Central Intelligence Agency. I mean, I'm sure he already kind of knew it. I mean, I'm sure he already kind of knew it, but it becomes public info that is undeniable at this point. And his whole thing is instead of being like, wow, this is a really sad state of America or anything, he's just like, this guy, he says he works for the intelligence agencies, but he's obviously not very intelligent. He's kind of an idiot. I was surprised he didn't just go like a retard. Some would say he's a retard. I'm surprised it didn't just pull that out, but that's what it was about. He ended up just lambasting the guy.
Typical Trump.
He must be just trying to flatter a woman. He's trying to get his willy wet, but who knows? He probably can't even get his willy wet. So
exactly that. He doesn't seem surprised at all. I mean, think about how much he knows that he hasn't talked about, right? So I was under the assumption that maybe he was going to be a little more surprised, and he was just like, yeah, duh, this guy's an idiot, get rid of him.
What else is new?
Yeah,
James, what else is new?
I feel like the reason Trump is not surprised, and we can literally see that in the video, he's making fun of this, like we're making fun of that right now, is because 8 years ago, the leader of the Senate, Chuck Schumer, told him on live TV on MSNBC that if you screw around with the intelligence community, they have a billion ways how they're going to go after you. And look, ever since 2016, ever since Trump became the president, I guess 2017, they've been going after him. Actually, I stand corrected. They've been going after him since he was president-elect, even before president-elect, right? The intelligence agencies were always hungry after President Trump. And that's why he's not surprised. That's why, honestly, we're not surprised on the panel here. It's a bombshell news story that we have to share with you guys. But this, the main idea that the intelligence community is going after former President Trump, soon to be President Trump again, hopefully, is not new, fellas.
Yeah, this is something that one could look at just 6 months ago when the CIA was basically, they were outed for doing a really, really bad things, and the next day Congress voted to give, I believe it was a Pentagon or the CIA, but they voted to give one of the intelligence agencies a whole new building, billions of dollars, a few days after they were just caught doing something extremely, extremely bad. Why else would you do that as a congressperson unless you're scared of them? And I've heard, I forget who said this. He said that the Senate Intelligence Committee, whose job it is to oversee the intelligence agencies, they themselves are scared of the intelligence agencies if they vote against them too often, or if they say too
That's
many things.
that's what Tucker was saying on Joe Rogan. And he said, yeah, they're all afraid, like they're basically being held hostage by the 3-letter agencies because they're worried they're gonna put like kitty porn or something on their devices, and that's like the minimum of what they'll do. Like they're afraid at the minimum that they'll get kitty porn on their computer. Like that means that there's worse things that could happen to them. It's insane. It's insane. Our elected officials are held hostage, and not to like negate some of the blame among some of these people that vote for some of the most heinous things. But many of them are held hostage by our 3-letter bureaucracies that are unelected. And I've been talking about this for a long time. Like your threat to democracy isn't Donald Trump. It's not Joe Biden. It's your FBI, your CIA, and your NSA. That's your threat to democracy, a constitutional republic, America as it was meant to be.
Yeah, whenever you have something like a dark budget or whatever they call a black budget, where we don't know how much money they're getting and there's no oversight, no one knows what they're doing with it. That's the problem with the democracy, because that's not democratic whatsoever. They work for us. Now they have the politicians who we elect work for them. It's completely obliterating the idea of the way the founders envision this whole thing working.
Mm-hmm.
Just to go back to what the video was all about, with them like withholding information from President Trump when he was the president, in a sense, isn't this illegal treason, borderline treason? I mean, how can you be an official, like it or not, the president of the United States is the executive. He's the head of state. So that means everybody beneath him, regardless of how much you may oppose him or disagree with him or believe that he's weak or whatever it is, you still have to report to him or her, if that'll ever happen. But it's crazy, guys. I mean, they're spying on him. They're disrespecting him. That's why, look, I believe the CIA, FBI may get grilled for this is actually a good concept, but I've said this in the past, the way it is right now, it's corrupted. You can't trust the bureaucrats that are in there because of things like we just saw right now. So hopefully when he wins in November, hopefully he doesn't tear down the FBI and the CIA, because again, I think those are good institutions, good ideas, but they need to be grounded with good individuals, good principles, values, all that good stuff.
Yeah, honestly, we'll have to look in. I mean, people will have to look into Mike Pompeo. I don't know if anything will ever come of it, but if Trump is reelected, then Mike Pompeo should absolutely be investigated at a minimum, likely indicted. So,
which is very unfortunate, because I'll be honest, Mike Pompeo is one of my favorite individuals in his administration or in his cabinet. You know, I think he did actually a fantastic job. Again, I may get grilled for that, but especially with his relations and how he handled both China and the Middle East, it's very unfortunate to see here. But
he's the one that ordered. He's the one that was caught saying that he wanted to kill, I think, Snowden or assassinate Snowden, right? One of those two guys.
Potentially, I don't know that off the top of my head.
I think Tucker's talked a lot about that, about him doing exactly that, and I think Tucker in one of his interviews, he's like, and I saw Mike Pompeo like not too long ago, and I'm like, he was trying to be friendly because, you know, the man himself is friendly when he's out and about, but he's like, that guy is really, really bad. So I believe, I don't want to mischaracterize what he said, but I think he said something like, I couldn't be nice to him. I couldn't be regular around him. Like, oh, hey, what's up? And I just, you know, if you're talking to Yasser Arafat or, you know, Saddam Hussein or something like that, and you see him at a party or something, yeah, you know, they just killed a bunch of people. So what are you going to be nice to them just because they're in your purview? No, hell no. I just think, like those fat bozos from the whatever podcast, you know, you see them at a party, you're not going to be nice just because you know who they are. No, the guys are idiots. So you treat them like that.
I think who you're thinking about might have been the CIA director under Obama, either Clapper or Brennan, one of those. Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
I'm pretty sure Pompeo.
Pompeo, I don't know.
We're gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, well,
yeah, exactly. Because that's very unfortunate to me. Again, when I saw that story, I saw it like the headline for it. It was like, and possibly Mike Pompeo. It was like Gina 100%, but Mike Pompeo is like still questionable. So that's very unfortunate to see if that's, you know, as is and whatnot. So
absolutely. But this was one of the, I think this is should be, the thing is because it's James O'Keefe, because it's him, because he's known as a more conservative individual, this will not get the credit that it deserves, because this reporting right here, yeah, he's had some great reports of other undercover journalists that have had to go through great lengths to get the information that they did. But what they uncovered in this is as big. It doesn't feel as big because we have all these social media platforms now that share information like that, but this is as big as Edward Snowden detailing what the NSA surveils on the American people, or Woodward and Bernstein revealing Watergate. Like this is a huge, huge story.
Huge. Absolutely. Just to go back. Business Insider, Mike Pompeo summoned by court to explain alleged U.S. government plot to assassinate Julian Assange, say Spanish media reports. So this is what Tucker was talking about. And they were spying on him in the embassy, and apparently the plan was to assassinate him.
The Uni Party is that's unfortunate.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. But speaking of things that Fabian knows, let's talk about, or I don't know if we're getting it to an hour, or we're going to take a quick ad break, but we have.
Let's take a little, take a little break.
Gather our wits. Freedom water.
Oh yeah.
And next up, we're going to talk about what I did last night. We're right back after this.
Blah, 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 blah. What are you talking about? Here, have some freedom to up. Man, the Constitution is awesome. That's what it is.
Well, I had quite an interesting night last night. What did I do, everyone? Well, I decided to go to the final countdown, the final boss, the final fight, where you're fighting Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat. I went to the UCLA protest, the Palestinian protest. Now, just to give you some backstory, the night before, so 2 nights ago, there was a massive brawl between the Israeli counter-protesters and the Palestinian protesters, and the cops did not intervene. I've heard for like hours. Some people were saying it was hours, like 2 to 3 hours that they didn't intervene. People went to the hospital, people got hurt, etc. There's weapons being used. So tonight, or rather last night, the cops were saying we're going to move this encampment off, and they were calling all the troops. There's this Twitter page called People's City Council Group or something like that, and they were saying we never back down. We'll bring everyone. We're going to show the cops who's boss tonight. We need everyone there. So I went. And I want to show just a little clip about what happened last night. So let's watch this clip really quickly. Okay, so you see that. Okay,
so you took that. I want to be clear with everybody too. You took that video.
No, I didn't take that video. No.
Okay.
So,
sorry.
But here's what I want to say about that video. You see the video and you think, oh my gosh, these protesters and everything is going crazy. Well, guess what? I didn't see any of those people when I was there. And and let me explain what I mean by those people. So when I was there was a few thousand Palestinian protesters sitting there doing their chants, doing their thing or whatever. And I speak to a few of them, and I say, hey man, what's going on? Tell me about what's happening. And they were talking to me. I walked around the entire thing on the other side. So, okay, the way you can visualize it is there's 2 sets of stairs, and then there's Royce Hall right in the middle, and that's where the camp was at. And the police had barricaded themselves, or they were wrapped around the tent, holding everyone off. So the students were on both sides of the stairs. They had barricades. The Israeli counter protest was supposed to be on one side, and the Palestinian protest on the other side. So we walked around, but the thing is, and maybe they called off the Israeli and say, hey, don't do it tonight. It's not going to be the night. But it was all Palestinian protesters, and everybody there. And I walked around the entire thing. I saw all the barricades, and everybody was super chill. Sure, there were some people, you could tell there were spotters for the organized Antifa, BLM, Summer of Love type organizations that were being paid. When I saw this video, this happened about half hour after I left. I left about 12:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
This happened half hour after I left. I did not see any of those people. And I'm gonna play it again for 10 seconds. I want you to notice how they all have the same helmets on, how they all have shields, how they all have umbrellas, how they're all organized in a wall. This is not normal behavior by normal students. So I want you to watch it again and tell me if those guys look a little bit of organized. Now, the last thing is in that video, when they had the piece of wood or whatever that was, and a cop ripped it away, somebody from the back passed another one over, handed to someone, and that person handed it to the front line, and that person had another one right in front of them. And I saw that, and I'm like, these guys were at some staging area when I was there, because I didn't see any of these people.
Yeah.
And at one point, they said, okay, go. And all of these paid protesters went in to cause the chaos. It wasn't the regular protesters. So you see this and you think bad people. But what I saw was these are the organized communist open society funded that. David, your video went viral talking about this. It was just incredible to see what really happens and how the media makes it look like something it's really not.
No, you're absolutely right. And even like noticing that the umbrella is something that really stood out to me. I don't know. Have you ever seen on my YouTube channel? I have a video of me about a year ago now going and talking to protesters at an event that was for DeSantis. I'm going to actually, I think I have the ability to share my screen very briefly here. We won't watch all that much of it. But I just want to show this quick clip. Where you can see actually in here is a protester utilizing an umbrella in a very similar way. Let's go right around here. You can see this guy with this umbrella right here.
Oh, yeah. That's the Marxist favorite tactic. That's exactly what they did in France.
Yep.
Thank you.
The yellow jacket.
And they all have the same, and they all have the same little vests.
Awesome.
By the way, Kevin, you look like a stud in that film.
Hi there. I actually was like 50 pounds heavier in this video, just so you know, too. How are you guys doing? Watch this. Watch this. I just want to know what you guys are out here protesting today.
DeSantis.
Why?
100% DeSantis.
He's a fascist? Why is he a fascist?
Because you know what a fascist
See?
is?
So this guy with the umbrella is controlling everything. He's the one that's making all of this. He's controlling all of it. It's absolutely insane to me. And he is the one that's like, when it comes to this whole everything that happens, it's just like what happened there is whoever is holding the umbrella. It's like the flipping talking stick in kindergarten. Whoever's holding the umbrella, that's who gets to control whatever goes on in the protest.
Absolutely,
it's a training method. It's a universal training method that happens underground. Like I don't know that for an absolute fact, but based on the pattern of behavior, that would be my guess.
Well, David, your video just went viral exposing, because a lot of people were saying, you know, I've been posting in comments, these are the open society funded people, and like, you're a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, dude, you need to watch David's video because you uncovered all of this, how much they're paid and everything. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that's incredible.
Yeah, it's interesting what happens when you follow the money trail here, because I mean, it's literally right there. You can see the transactional evidence. So a lot of these students are being gathered together because they have some emotional social justice attachment to what is happening in Israel, right? And these are a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, right? Organizations understand that, hey, if we can organize them, then this can become a very powerful political tool that we can use. So the very bottom of it, of course, you have the students and these campus-based organizations like Students for Justice in Palestine, they name it, and all these creative ways that they figure out, right? And these organizations are then led by bigger organizations with actual political agenda behind them. So, for example, there's a big organization called United States Campaign for Palestinian Rights. And they are actually the ones that contract individuals on various college campuses to be college campus fellows, which they pay them between $3,300, $3,600, something like that. And then they have community-based fellows, which is probably what Kev ran into right there. These people get paid $7,600, $7,800 just for 8 hours of work a week to organize certain protests and whatnot that are related to the Palestinian Gaza thing. So what you see is a bunch of students who have a bunch of emotions in them. They don't know what to do with them, but then they get organized and led by a lot of movements that have big attachments that are actually rooted in Marxism and communism, and we can go on and on. So, and you saw that firsthand yesterday, Fabian, right?
Yeah, and you know what? It's sad. I felt bad and I'll say this. Obviously, it sucks to see anyone die on either side, Israeli or Palestinian. You have Hamas, who's just using the people. It's always the elites that are using the regular people to get their way. It's no different in this organization. You have the organization who want to push communism, cause chaos. George Soros literally says in his book that his plan is to cause chaos to break down the USA. That's what he wants. He literally says it in his book. This is not theorizing. So when you see his organization funding this, paying people, I mean, how more obvious do you need it to be if it's right in front of your face? So I felt bad for these kids because I get it. They want to help people, right? You're young, you have bright eyes. The world is, the world, you want to fix the world. But then you have these people who are using the kids to stay there all day. And then they come in at the end and they bum rush the police. And then, of course, some of the kids are going to get involved because it's just, I mean, listen, I grew up going to hardcore shows. We would always get in fights. This is what you did. And even if you weren't involved in a fight, if you got caught in one, well, you're going to fight because people are swinging at you. Even though you don't have you're like, why are you hitting me? I don't know. I'm going to hit back. I'm not going to let myself get hit. And that's kind of what what was happening in this situation. And then, of course, you have the communism going around and signing people up and say, hey, you need to be a part of the Socialist Democratic Party. We're going to burn this nation down. And all of the signs were all professionally done. The students that I saw there didn't have signs saying like death to America or whatever. But I did see one that said, it's not from the river to the sea anymore. It says from Palestine to Mexico, the walls have got to go. So I can see them. And this
doesn't even rhyme.
Done sign.
Doesn't even rhyme.
But I can see, the regular kids looking at this saying, oh, I guess this is what we should maybe go for. Maybe, okay, so this is the new thing now. And it's just using these kids. And it's sad. And I mean, they don't even look like students. We saw one of the mug shots that they come out. These guys look like they're like, in their 30s on campus.
Oh, yeah.
Sad.
To just go back to quickly the whole idea of like creating chaos and everything. We've heard Yuri Bezmenov's interview. He talks about this, that the very first step is demoralization. Well, I think we can all agree that a bunch of these people are already demoralized, right? And what is the second step? Is to destabilize the country. Right. So we're in this interesting phase right now where we've experienced destabilization in 2020 with the Summer of Love riots by the BLM and sponsored by your beautiful Democratic Party right there. and now we're seeing something very, very interesting because this isn't even political affiliation. You have people from both sides. Right. So very interesting destabilization moment.
Absolutely. And here's what happened with all this. And there's my comment. I said, is play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And this is them actually clearing the camp out.
Get back! Get back! Get back!
Get back! Yeah, and you know what? I give credit to these officers because there was a lot of protesters there, and they had and not only that, but they had to restrain. They had to use restraint because there was cameras everywhere. I mean, there's literally guys right next to someone getting beat with the camera shining it, in their face. So they have to do their job without using the maximum amount of force that they could to alleviate the situation, which is kind of weird.
Absolutely.
Well, at the end of the day, too, these students, though, they've I think they got charged with trespassing, although this is on a college campus. Actually, what it was is that they ruled it as an illegal assembly, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, look, there's consequences at the end of the day. If you're going to go protest, if you're going to build these encampment tent cities that look like homeless places, then, hey, at some point you're going to run into some sort of consequences.
Yeah, here's the last video I'll play really quick because this one's very insightful. And this was shot by someone named so Street People of Los Angeles, incredible page, posted this. It's one of their people who go in. This guy or these people, I don't know who it is, snuck in and was actually inside of the camp. And you can see the organization in this, because it's pretty incredible to see how it's actually organized. You have people with there's a hierarchy, there's like an assembly line. So let's go ahead and pull this up really quickly and watch this here.
That's something funny about that.
This will suppress the tear gas.
By the way, that was a medic tent.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure as we watch these things that there's got to be a way to reverse engineer exactly the structure of how all of this goes down, because like I'm thinking about it. I posted to my Twitter. I thought it might get more views on it. I guess not, because it wasn't as sexy as the ones that have fights and everything. But I posted to my Twitter yesterday, or X, that Illinois State University, my alma mater, started having a type of encampment come up. No, there was not massive fights at it. It was pro-Palestinian protesters, kind of pitiful, like probably around like 20 to 30 people out there, and they were screaming a lot of the same crap, like from the river to the sea, blah, 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 blah. We hate Jews. We get it. But they do that, and I posted it, and when you think about it, the way that it could work is that, so that's like the end goal, is that you start getting like all these little copycats that are relatively tame. Maybe they get bigger, maybe whatever. And then once they start to get bigger, you would send in the organizers, the ones that are paid and everything. But how it starts is you start with some of those organizers. And like, I don't know exactly, but I'm sure there's a way to reverse engineer every single little point of it by watching all the footage that we have. And maybe that's something we work on doing, but I just find it like there's got to be a way to really figure out exactly what the strategy and plan is. And then also compare it all the way back to like 2020 with Black Lives Matter.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yep.
Because I'm sure that the strategy and the plan is so similar. And then you could even probably go back to 2016 and compare it to, while it's smaller, the Trayvon Martin and the Devontae Williams, I think was another one of the names. But like all those, like they had like little syndicate riots and protests that happened because of BLM getting started. And so I'm sure there's a way to tie it all together, at least in terms of strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that does it for Fabian being at UCLA for the night.
Yeah, I hope you learned something.
I know, right? People pay $90,000 and don't learn shit. So
that's very true. All right,
fellas, why don't we go to Kev's quick hits?
Time for Kev's quick hits, everybody. Let's go. All right. The first quick hit today. I'm so excited to be sharing this because it's something that I've been talking about for quite a while. The United Methodist Church is absolutely corrupt. Like, you should not be a Methodist by any means. I don't know your guys' denominations, but if you're a Methodist, you probably shouldn't be one, because out of the Associated Press, the United Methodists repeal longstanding ban on LGBTQ clergy. And so if you did not know, Methodist Church has been going through this kind of rift where about half of them believe that being gay is okay, despite the book of Leviticus saying the exact opposite. Then the other half are protesting that. Well, now the entire church has their delegates repealed their church's longstanding ban on LGBTQ clergy with no debate on Wednesday, removing a rule forbidding self-avowed practicing homosexuals from being ordained or appointed as ministers. Delegates voted 692 to 51 at their general conference, the first such legislative gathering in 5 years. That overwhelming margin contrasts sharply with the decades of controversy around the issue. So basically, what we are now seeing, everybody, is that there is an entire church, the Methodists, that are denying what the Bible says. Like, and so this isn't even about whether or not, like, I'll be tolerant of a as many gay people or whatever. But Leviticus 18:22 specifically says, a man shall not lay with a man. If he does, it is an abomination. So you are not following scripture to do this. So I'm curious your guys' quick thoughts on that. And are these even Christians anymore? Are they even Christians?
You know, I will say James Lindsay talked about this a few years ago, and in Beneath Sheep's Clothing, they talk about how they did the exact same thing in Russia. What they do is they go into a big organization like the United Methodists, and you take over from the inside. You get a few people on the inside of power and say, guys, like, we need to be more understanding about these people. And then because each church has a duty to follow what the overarching organization does, you take over the organization, you take over all of the churches, and then you can pass this kind of rule change or whatever you call it. And then every church, because they need to get money from the big organization, has to fall in line, or they don't get money. This is ESG and DEI in churches.
Absolutely. David, thoughts?
One thing finally makes sense for me. Every day that I come back from work, I pass a church, and that church literally has a huge banner on the main road with a LGBTQIA plus flag there saying, "You are welcome here." And every time I was confused, I'm like, is this a counter protest to the church or something like that? And it's a Methodist church. And the funniest thing, Kev, you know this, I don't know what you're going to show for Kev's Quick Hits, but today I decided to actually take a video of that flag.
Did you really?
I did. I literally took a video of it. I'll pull it up here in a second. But no, it's the craziest thing. It's on my phone, so you won't be able to really see it too well. But
look,
that's interesting.
It's the funniest thing ever, and now it finally clicks to me. But here's the you are.
Yes, exactly. And so I'm sure something that you might have seen near that, just so everybody knows too, in case you're wondering, in case you want to avoid the Methodist churches, this is pretty much by and large what the Methodist, this is like their logo. If you ever see the flame with the cross, it's because they have a very interesting view
of flamers.
They're flaming gay. No, but they have a very interesting view of the metaphor of the flame as it relates to the Holy Spirit.
Interesting.
And so that's why if you ever see that flame with the cross, that you're pretty much always looking at some level of a Methodist church. But that's the first quick hit. Let's get to the next one. Dan Schneider from iCarly, Victorious, all the other stuff. If you guys haven't been paying attention to like literally anything in the last 5 years, Dan Schneider has been constantly under attack, rightfully so, for at a minimum creepy behavior. But just in the last few months, a massive documentary called Quiet on Set came out, of which I watched all of it, which basically detailed a significant amount of sexual abuse among child stars, especially at Nickelodeon. And so according to the Daily Wire, former Nickelodeon producer Dan Schneider is suing the producers of this documentary. And the 58-year-old TV exec made a public apology for his behavior after the documentary first aired, which included an interview with Schneider's former colleague telling us stories of toxic workplace environment that they saw questionable. The new lawsuit states that while he takes responsibility for his actions, Quiet on Set was a hit job, which insinuated that Schneider would sexually abuse the children who worked on his television shows. And now there's a lot more to this article, and you can go look at it if you would like to, or you can go watch the Quiet on Set documentary. I recommend you doing so. The thing is at a minimum, a lot of those a lot of people point out, not even just on Quiet on Set, but they point out how a lot of Dan's shows had a weird amount of feet being included,
Interesting,
suggestible, sexually suggestible scenes, like Victoria Justice and others in Victorious having lotion sprayed on their face almost as if it was kind of pornographic, things like that. I don't know if you guys saw this documentary, how much you've heard about this, but what do you guys think? Is Dan Schneider guilty? Did he do anything? Is his lawsuit justified?
I mean, I would say, knowing what we know about the Hollywood pedophile ring and how it's growing and growing, and now we got P. Diddy, who's the Epstein of rap. I mean, and you got Weinstein, who's it's just, I mean, man, all these people are a bunch of perverts. And if you're working with kids all day and you're already a pervert, and you have the power to do stuff like that, and these poor kids don't know. They're just shooting random stuff. They're like, okay, cool, spray this on my face. Like, they have no idea. They're kids.
Yeah.
I think
David?
that's exactly it, Fabian, is that this is like a dream place for him. And I'm pretty sure that after Nickelodeon, after the whole thing came up, he went to work in Disney. So the dude still gets around kids, and that's very troubling to think. But the most sad thing about this is that I'm wondering, what the hell did he do to SpongeBob? Like, like
I don't think he worked as much on SpongeBob, but SpongeBob actually was supposed to be originally an adult show. And this is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but it was supposed to be. If you think about the names in the show, you have the entire name of the town they lived in was Bikini Bottom. Sandy Cheeks was the name of the squirrel. If you think about the Krusty Krab, like there's a lot of things in that show that seem a little bit off. But a lot of things in that show that seem a little bit off. I wouldn't say it, but some people would say it. No, but so that's when it comes to that one. But that I just thought that was really interesting, and everybody's talking about the sex abuse. I think the thing I really want to talk about with it is the fact there's two things. First, the hypocrisy among so many leftists to where they will be so outraged about Dan Schneider. But as soon as a drag queen is shaking their ass in front of their kids,
good point.
They're like, oh my God, shell out the money, make it rain on that man dressed as a woman doing sexually explicit acts in front of my child. That's fine. But Dan Schneider shows some feet on iCarly, and that's where they get all mad. Like, both are bad. I'm not going to defend either of them. Both are bad, but stop being
double standard.
Exactly.
Double standard.
And as Bill Maher said, which I can't believe I'm quoting the fucking liberal, but as Bill Maher said, where kids are is where these things are going to happen. And that's why we need the most safeguards. If you look at it, I'm a Catholic myself, and so I hate bringing up things that make the Catholic Church look bad. But you have altar servers, children. They get sexually abused. You have the Boy Scouts, young children. They get sexually abused. Where kids are, sexual abusers will be attracted.
Yep.
Because they're going to go where kids are. And so in kids' entertainment, we have to pay attention to our children. And and there's no problem. I think it's 90% of Hollywood productions have children in them in some way. So there's no way to avoid it, that kids are going to be in things, but there is a way to protect them.
Yeah, Seek Smith explained this a lot to me and opened my eyes to something I didn't know. And exactly what you said, Kev, is right. They go to where children are. What is it? Where you're young, you go in the forest, whatever they're called, where you go and you have like somebody trains you on like how to start fires and stuff. The Boy Scout. The Boy Scout. And there was a lot of them in the Boy Scout. And I guess the Boy Scout had their own hush hush thing, and so they got ousted.
They did. So the Boy Scouts, so I'm an Eagle Scout. So I went through all the Boy Scouts. I was in it for like 12 years. And so I always make the joke, and this is a terrible joke, but I make it. I'm both a Catholic and a Boy Scout. No one ever touched me. What the heck? Where's my class action? But must have not been cute enough. But no, that's exactly what it is. It's where kids are is where they're going to go. And it's not like, right now we could talk about low birth rates and everything, but we don't need to get into that tangent. But the thing is that we're always still going to have kids. And so the best we can do is look out for them. And so don't be a naive little bitch and pretend like somebody's not going to be a creep towards your children. Just saying, Keep an eye on them. And speaking of keeping an eye on them, that brings me to my next quick hit, which is out of the post-millennial. A Christian conservative family is shocked to find that a trans woman was playing the evil queen after paying $300 for a dinner with Disney characters, to which I asked, who the hell would pay $300 to have dinner with a Disney character? But according to the story, a conservative Christian family spent that much money. I don't know if we can watch some of the video. Let's watch the video. Let's just do that. Great video here.
Evil queen. Oh my God. Also my favorite. We have so much.
Oh yeah, that was a little weird.
So it's a conservative Christian family's paid that much money to have a meet and greet dinner for their daughter at Disney World, and were shocked when the evil queen was played by a man. When the father of the family spoke to a manager at Disney about casting choice, he learned that the man was actually transgender. The manager reportedly told the father that the evil queen was being played by a woman who, quote, was so excited to get the role. When he pressed and wanted to know if the individual was a biological male, the manager told him that he could not answer that question. And because you asked it, you're a bigot, basically. But Disney went gender neutral in 2021 when they removed, quote, all gender references from guidelines for casting. And the goal was to improve inclusivity at the park. After that, visitors to Disney were faced with men playing women's parts, such as instances where the role of fairy godmother's apprentice was played by a male. So what do you guys think about this? A biological male is playing the part of the evil queen, and a family paid $300 to have dinner with it. I have my own thoughts, but I'll get to those. What do you guys think?
David, you take this one, man. I'm so flabbergasted.
This just reminds me of like, for some reason I'm shooting blanks, but you guys could probably help me here. Is that like they always make fun of this, of like some movie that's gonna play, and like the main character is like some character from history, and they're white, but they're playing them as black. This is like an extension of that, because
it's
essentially
it's cultural appropriation.
Cultural appropriation, exactly. I mean, like, listen, you got chicks, or you got roles for chicks being taken over by dudes. And I don't hear the feminists coming out and being all angry about that. So
that's because men are better women than women are.
Yeah.
We're so much better than women.
She's the man.
She's the man.
About that, I will say this: the best straight guy on television is played by a gay guy, Barney from How I Met Your Mother, and the best gay man is played by a straight man, the guy from Modern Family, the
fatter guy.
Yeah, he's actually straight, and I'm like, this is the opposite. It's pretty incredible, but
I think you make a point there, though, Fabian, and the fact that it's acting. If you're good at it, do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the thing is when it comes to this instance, I don't think it's about acting. I think it's about the inclusivity stuff. And and to where my problem comes with this is not about the transgender thing. I mean, we could go back to the whole conversation about how they're going to be where kids are, the groomers, the pedophiles, everything like that. That's why we've seen, if you look at it, there's constant arrests of child pornography charges and molestations from people that worked for Disney, from low-level park employees up. But I digress when I bring up that point. The thing is that if this family paid $300 to have $300, which I blame the family first off for paying that much for a stupid flipping dinner for a meet and greet. But $300 to play with an actor, they should have at least been told that the evil queen was going to be a king pretending to be a queen. Like, they should have been at least told that, like, from a business transaction standpoint, like outside of all the transgender stuff, even if he was outwardly like knew for a fact that he was a biological male, if he wasn't suffering from delusion, then they should have been told, like, for paying that much money, you should know exactly what you're buying. You should know the product. I mean, like, if you buy something and whatever is inside is not what was advertised, you're going to sue for false advertising. And that's exactly what happened here. So that's my thoughts on that. But let's get to a little bit happier news. John Rich, this is the next quick hit, everybody. John Rich, the singer from Big and Rich, just about 50% of that organization. He came out, and I don't know if you guys saw, but there was during all these protests that we've been covering, there was frat bros that came out and they held up an American flag. I don't know if we can get this tweet up here from John Rich, but they held up an American flag, and John Rich, among others, came out and said that that he was willing to host a concert for these young boys. And I know that I thought there was a picture with this tweet. I must be wrong. We can find the other tweet somewhere. Maybe if you scroll down, you can see the boys, Phi Kappa Phi men, defended their flag. And there you can see it. And so there was even a GoFundMe that was created. And it says, throw him a rager. And they've raised almost $200,000.
Wow.
They've raised $500,000 now, by the way.
Really? Oh my God.
Last time I checked. Yeah. And this is actually my neighboring states, UNC Chapel or Chapel Hill, right? And this was awesome to see, because for a while we were hearing this rhetoric, especially on X, is that white people, Jews, they're different. No, it's not. It's literally at the end of the day, there's people that hate America and there's people that love America. And as you can see, these young men over here, which just gives me so much hope in this generation that I always lose hope in, come out and protect the values. Look, I immigrated to the United States at 8 years old. And by the time I was 9 years old, I knew that the American flag should never touch the ground, similar to how the Israeli flag is. So to see these boys go out there, they're being like, they're throwing crazy stuff, not crazy stuff, but they're throwing water at them, chicken nuggets, I heard at some point. So, and they're standing there. They're like, I'm not going to let this flag touch the ground. I'm going to rip this fake Palestinian flag off the pole that you guys put on here. So disgraceful. And you know, keep this American flag above the ground until we figure out how we can get it up again.
You know, this reminds me, and I'm going to coin this phrase. I haven't heard it coined anywhere else, but I'm going to say this is the Gen Z Iwo Jima. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Iwo Jima.
Yeah.
But it's I mean, I know you guys are, but it's an incredible picture by Marines, and I forgot on what island. And I read the book when I was younger, and I forget it, but it was somewhere. I believe it was in Japan or something like that.
It was it was an island off Japan.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
And there's this whole statue and everything of it in DC. It's like it's on a hill. It's actually about like 15 minutes outside of the DC proper, but it's a beautiful, beautiful statue to go check out. There's pictures of it, of course, too. But I absolutely see that. I think the thing that's actually beautiful about this, there's two things. First off is, so one of the boys, who I believe was either the president or kind of one of the spokespeople for the fraternity, his name was Alex Jones. Ironically, and he came out on Twitter as well, and I read it earlier today. I couldn't find the tweet again. I'm sure if I looked it up I could, but he came out and it was a long thread where he basically said in it, he was like, you know, he was like, I didn't do this because I have a particularly educated opinion on Israel or Palestine. He was like, I think any loss of life is sad. He's like, I don't shame anybody for utilizing their First Amendment, the Palestinian people, protesters, or the Israel. He was just like, what I know is that I love my country and I love what it stands for. And anybody trying to disrespect that, that's what I have a problem with. It wasn't, he wasn't trying to make any kind of a political statement on either side. He and his brothers were simply trying to protect America and what it stands for. What I find interesting, however, is even despite that he says that, so he's by no means claiming that he's a conservative. I mean, he kind of is, but he is coming out and saying it's not about political partisanship by any means. The only people that came out and supported the GoFundMe, that pushed the idea of John Rich coming out, being a celebrity and coming out and saying he would, the only people were those that are on the conservative side. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
It just furthers the whole point that these people just hate America, right? And in the last, I'll ask you guys, in the last 5 years, between the right and the left in America, who has chanted the loudest that they hate America, hate American values, that it's a white supremacist country based on absolute racism and everything like that? It's been the left.
Well, it's sad. No, you know what's sad, because so the left is obsessed with being intelligent, right? You know, they're obsessed with being smart. And what they've done is they've told kids, if you're smart, then you have to do what we tell you.
Yeah.
But if you're smart, you would think critically about anything, anybody who tells you, do what I say and don't ask questions, because that just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, absolutely. And
the left took me out right there. Sorry, fellas.
The left took, because you called him out. Because
you
called him out. But David is absolutely, I mean, Fabian, you're right too, but David was absolutely right, is that people hate America. And speaking of people that hate America, it's both the Legibetica people and the British. And we have a little bit of both in this next clip. And educators. This is a triple whammy. Take a look and a listen to this clip, Libs of TikTok, for our final quick hit, everybody.
Boom, boom.
Did you know we deliver LGBT plus workshops for schools? Hi, I'm Jack. I'm the workshops leader here at Popinoni. I work directly with schools to deliver super fun, age-appropriate workshops to primary school kids from across the UK.
Okay.
From introducing ideas about family diversity to learning about the history of Pride. Our sessions allow a safe space for children to learn and understand about LGBT plus identities. We encourage children and teachers to ask questions, share their experiences and thoughts, to ultimately help our next generation grow up, not just to be more accepting, but to celebrate difference. If you're interested in some workshops for your school, just drop me a line at info@popandolly.com.
Jesus. Oh my God.
What do you guys think? Are you guys going to drop him a line at info@popandolly.com?
Wait. His shirt says Ollie, Jack, they, them. And it has a rainbow, and he has a pink hat, and he has these crazy like butterfly looking glasses. Like what could this person teach you other than how to eat soy? I don't understand. Like, what's he gonna teach you?
I don't know. Maybe how to lower your testosterone count.
Here's the funny thing to me is that we just saw an updated new flag for LGBTQ and all that stuff, right? So how do they exactly teach all of this stuff? They have to come in every 2-3 weeks and update the kids like, hey, listen,
it's kind of a genius business plan. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a genius business plan. If you keep changing all the shit, and then you're like, oh my God, you gotta learn it. You gotta learn
Ollie,
it.
Ollie, where are you, Ollie? You gotta teach the kids about the new stuff.
Then you're gonna constantly, you're creating your own revenue stream by basically saying you're a bigot if you don't learn it, but we're also gonna change it on you every 3 weeks.
For $10.99 a month.
Like,
You can't be
$10.99 a month.
Yeah. If you don't pay, you're a bigot.
I know that this was in the UK, but here's something that will make you feel pretty bad is that your US taxpayers' money is actually going to similar programs, especially I just saw in the recent bill that they passed is that they subsidize $1.5 million to an organization for LGBTQ kids clothing. So the kids at schools can get clothes that are LGBTQ friendly, which is like your Target Tuck friendly BS stuff and whatnot.
Look, I got a way that you can save a lot of money. Just if you're gonna go through all that trouble, just give the clothes that are made for a second grader, give them to fifth graders. It fits the exact same purpose. It's gonna be super tight. I mean, that's easy. See what I mean? The government hired me. I can save you some money.
The government doesn't like to save money. No. You know that. Just wants to collect your money and burn it.
They like to steal your money. Absolutely. But yeah, that's what's happening in American classrooms just as much as it's happening globally. And in reality, I believe it's a spiritual war. One of which, and that's why we started Quick Hits with the gays infiltrating the United Methodist Church, and they're also infiltrating your schools. And so the reality, maybe consider just getting out of anything government, anything government funded, anything government subsidized. The CIA is going to spy on you no matter what. The schools are going to turn you gay, and your church might even try to do that too.
And so is a fluoride in your water. Yeah. And that's what we drink. Freedom water because it has no fluoride. Perfect segue.
That's amazing. But that's Kev's Quick Hits for today.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yes, sir. And before we get out of here, guys, we want to quickly, again, shout out our sponsor, Freedom 2.0. They do amazing work. They let us talk crap on whoever we like. They don't say anything. I mean, it's not like they don't let us. Like, we're going to do it anyway.
Amazing.
But they've never been like, hey, guys, you kind of said, some stuff. No, they're like, hey, that's amazing. And that's because they really, truly back the freedom of speech because they've never said anything other than like, hey, that was great. We like what you said. We said the fluoride, like the water will make you gay. And they're like, that's amazing because it has no fluoride.
Alex Jones approves.
Oh, yeah. So check them out, freedom20.com/USA. And also, if you want to make sure that you stay up with everything that we are doing, make sure you go to our Telegram group. It's where we post all of our updates as well as things that we can't talk about on any other social platform because we'll get even more shadow banned. Brianna just had her TikTok deleted last week. David was demonetized on his 90,000 YouTube subscribers. I've been deleted off TikTok. I am so shadow banned on Instagram right now. We got a strike on our YouTube channel.
My YouTube channel is like never getting any views anymore. So that's beautiful. I mean, like I get my hardcore fans that check my page, but I know people that have all of their notifications turned on and they don't get notifications.
Yeah.
So,
political season.
Absolutely. Yeah. Season. And we called it. We said it's only going to get worse and worse up until November. And then who knows what happens after we fall off that cliff. So anyway, in order to be updated on everything that we're doing, make sure you go to our uncensored Telegram group, scan the link on the screen or the QR code on the screen, or go to t.me/breakaway if you're just listening to us right now and not watching. But make sure you add us on Twitter or X. Sorry, I just dead named X. They're gonna ban me.
I
And
do
on
that all the
Rumble.
time. I do it all the time.
and on Rumble, because those are freedom of speech platforms that we can show you things and talk about things that we can't on any other mainstream platform. So make sure you add us there.
Exactly. And guys, you know what to do. We're going to be right back to this Monday evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific for my West Coast peeps. And like Fabian said, follow us everywhere, because then you'll know exactly what our schedule is.
And
I
if
think
you
that does
don't,
it.
and well, I want to make sure before you end out too, make sure you're following all of us too, because it's not just for anybody who just tunes in on Mondays and Thursdays, or just on my channel or Fabian's or on David's. Like, all of us have our own individual stuff that we post our own individual content on. So if you want to go check out my channel, Speechless with Kev, if you want to go check out David on his YouTube channel, Fabian on his Instagram and everything. I don't know if you have your own YouTube channel. I'm sorry, but like, I know that we all have, and I think most of them, pretty much all of it, can be found through our link tree. And with just a little bit of work. So if you're looking for more content from people that are doing the work, not ordering gag orders on Candace Owens or and I'm not going to name any names here.
Yeah, we got to talk about that next episode.
We still have to wait, though. We still have to wait, because Glenn is the only one that broke that story. So I want to know how
I don't know. That's why I'm not putting any names at me. But what I am saying is, I know for a fact none of our contributors have gag orders. I know that for a fact. It's not even in question. So,
and if somebody had it, we wouldn't be able to tell you guys.
Yeah. That's a very true fact. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. It's been an incredible show. We hope you enjoyed Lindsey Graham being on, and Kendall in Kentucky for a little bit before she had her issues. I mean, we talked about a whole range of different things. And again, make sure you tune in every Monday and Thursday. And also, not only that, but we have shows every single day of the week, except for Saturday, on the Breakaway USA Network. So just follow Breakaway_USA anywhere. We got shows on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Speechless with Kev on Sundays. So make sure you check it out. And thanks for sticking around for this long. We're not 6 hours like the Whatever podcast, but we're just enough to tickle your whistle. So from everyone here, we will see you on a Monday.
Never say that again.
See you guys.